Okay, today is going to be an absolutely amazing day because it's all about the beer. Beer is going to be in all components of the dish. Got beer in the buns, I'm going to have beer on the battered fish. I'm also making chips and they're also going to be beer battered. And I've also made these pickles, which are pickled in beer, which I'll be chopping these up and putting them in an amazing tartar sauce. So, cheers. So, here we are, the day before, and we're going to get the pickling done. So, I bought these little snack cucumbers at the supermarket. We'll pop them in the jar. And then also I had a big knob of white radish left over, so we'll pop him in too. It'll all be good. And also we got some dill. We'll just bruise this up a little bit and we'll shove that in. Okay, so we'll set this aside for now and we'll get on with making the pickling liquid. So I've also found some beer vinegar, which is, I'm not actually sure, I saw it at the shop and I thought it was pretty cool, so we'll go in with that and we'll use the rest of that bottle. So we're going to go in with equal parts beer vinegar and a radler, which is a Shandy. And I've got the citrus one, so this has grapefruit, lemon, all kinds of good stuff in there. So we'll go on with an equal part of that. That looks good. I'm just going to put a little bit of sugar, brown sugar in there, and we'll go in with some salt. That looks good for now. So we'll put the lid on, dissolve the salt and the sugar up, and then we'll give it a taste. Also, you could just heat that up on a stove to get all the stuff dissolved, but then you have to dirty a saucepan and all kinds of stuff. I just like it like that. So, once you've got it all mixed up, we'll give it a taste. I think it needs a little bit more sugar and just a little bit more beer. Alrighty, we'll give it another shake. Alrighty, once you got that dissolved, give it another taste. Ooh, that's pretty good. So, when you're happy with it, it wasn't quite filled up, so we'll just add a little bit more beer on the top of that. Then we'll stick the lid on, and then that'll go into the fridge, ready for tomorrow. Okay, so here we are in the morning, and this is just a simplified version of my buns that I usually make, but we replaced the liquid with beer instead. So, very simple. I'm just going to bung everything into the food processor. There's the beer, flour, potatoes, salt and sugar. And we got egg. And this is butter that I've had out so it's soft. Bung that in. And fresh yeast. Now we'll just close it up. Start it on a low speed for now, and then we'll speed it up once it gets incorporated. Alright, it's only been on for about 30 seconds. Just if you do it this way, you're just going to have to scrape the sides a couple of times. So just scrape it all back in the center, put it down, keep it mixing. Okay, as you can see, most of it's come together, and it's just a bit of dry stuff left in the bottom. At this point, I'm going to speed it up and let it mix for about 5 or 6 minutes, and then we'll come back and check on it. Okay, it's been about 5 or 6 minutes. Just going to scrape the hook off. Your dough's going to be quite sticky. That's just fine. So we'll get this out of the bowl. We'll get this off the stand mixer, I should say. We'll make a bit of room. Okay, as you can see, I've got an oiled bowl here. Now I've just put a bit of olive oil in here. Any oil would work. It's just to stop the dough sticking inside the bowl. And also, it's a good idea to use your hand at this point to get the oil around the bowl. And now this will make it much easier to handle this dough. So I'll just go ahead and turn it out. Just kind of form it into a rudimentary bowl and plop it in. And now we'll just cover this with some happy wrap, and then we'll stick it in the oven, but have the oven off. It's just a nice place to prove your dough. If you're wondering what happy wrap is, it's just this plastic wrap that you put over the top of the bowl. I think in America they call it clinch plastic or something like that. It's just in Australia there's a brand called Glad, and for some reason I just changed it to happy wrap. It sounds much better. Okay, as you can see, it's more than doubled, but that's going to be fine. So we're just going to get the plastic off. We'll degas it, and then we'll weigh it up and see what size buns we're going to get out of this. I've just done some maths here, and I'm going to divide mine up into 7. So I had the total weight of this was 760, and I'm going to divide it into 7. So it's going to be 108 grams for each little dough ball that I'll have. Okay, I've got my dough portioned out into 7 equal pieces. Now I just like to have a little bit of flour on hand, but I'm going to roll these into a tight bowl, and I don't want to be rolling them onto too much flour. So I've just got a little bit in my hand and a little dob to the side here, and I'll show you what that's for in a minute. So you just want to grab it and roll it in your palm of your hand into a tight little ball. I like to use my thumb and just roll it around. Okay, once you've got it into a nice little bowl there, you just want to scoop it up and lightly put just a little bit of flour on the bottom before you put it into your pan. And what that'll do is once you get them all rolled up, if you need to move them around or just anyhow function inside of this pan, it'll let you move them around easier, because if you don't, it'll just stick and you won't be able to move it. Once you've got them all rolled out into nice little balls, if you see any bubbles on the surface, just go ahead and pop them, because you don't want any bubbles. And then just with a lightly floured hand, you want to go along and just squash them all down some. Because if you leave them in these small balls, they're going to puff up, and it's not really the best experience for the burger which we want. So I'm just going to flatten them all out, and then I'm going to put a clean towel over the top. I'm going to let these sit for another 30 to 40 minutes while the oven preheats. The buns have been hanging out for about half an hour, and they've plumped up a little bit, which is perfect. Okay, I've just beaten 1 egg with a little bit of water, so it's got no streaks in it, and we're just going to go ahead and brush all the dough. Okay, I've got them all egg washed up. Now in my oven, it heats quite hard from the top, so I'm going to put these on the bottom half of my oven, and I've got the oven already preheated to 180 degrees, and they're going to go in for around 10 to 12 minutes until they have a nice golden colour. Okay, these buns took about 12 and a half minutes. Now you just got to take them out the oven and let them cool. Okay, got my pot of water on the boil. Just going to add a couple of big pinches of salt and the vinegar. As you can see, I've already got my chips all cut up into chip-sized pieces and straight in the water. Now we'll bring this back up to the boil, and we're going to cook them for about 8 minutes or so, and I'll show you what we're looking for once we're there. So, what I said about the 8 minutes was completely wrong. These have been in for about 25 minutes now, and they're just ready now. So as I grab one, and I'll put a toothpick in, and if it goes through, and it's cooked all the way through, then they're ready. So I'm just going to scoop them out and lay them on this rack to cool. If you're a little bit rough with them, it's no problem. If you rough them up a little bit, all those little bits that'll burr off, they'll be getting even crispier when we fry them. The batter for the chips is super simple. I've just got some all-purpose flour here. I'm going to go in with 2 spoons of that. And also I've got some rice flour here. I'm going to go in with equal parts the rice flour, then pinch of salt. Now I've got 200 milliliters of beer here. I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to be using of this, but I'll tip it in and we'll mix it up and then we'll see how much we actually end up using. So we'll start with about half at the start, and we'll go ahead and mix it all in. Now, considering this is just for chips, I don't want it very thick. See, that already is a little bit too thick for what I need. So I'm just going to tip just a little bit more beer in, and we'll give it another mix. Okay, we'll give that another little look. Okay, and that looks about perfect. Now, you might think it's quite like too thin, but I just want a very light coating on the chips. So that's perfect. So now we're going to get ready to put these in for the first fry. So I've got my deep fryer. I've got it sitting outside because I don't want to be stinking up my apartment. So the thickness of the batter is when you coat it and you see most of it drip off, but there's still a thin layer on it. That's how you want it. So what I'll be doing is I'll be getting a handful, putting it in here, then I'll be putting them on my little slotted spoon here, wait until it drips off a little bit, and then I'll be putting it straight into my oil. Let's go get the first fry done. As you can see, I've got my oil quite low as well. It's only around 135 degrees. Now, I've had these in for about 6-7 minutes, and they're just starting to get light brown. So now I'm going to let them drain for a second, then we'll tip them out on here, and then we'll carry on with the rest. As you can see, I've got the first fry done. Now, you could just let these cool completely, then stick them in the freezer and freeze them solid, and then put them in a bag, and then you'll have chips, homemade frozen chips. But for me today, I'm going to be cooking these today, so I'm just going to let them chill out on that rack until I'm ready to cook. Okay, to make the tartar sauce, it's very, very simple. In my container here, I've already got 1 whole egg and some neutral oil. I'm using peanut oil. And then we're going to go in with a pinch of salt. And I've got the zest of a lime here. So we'll bang that in. Also, I'm going to get 1 tablespoon of the pickling juice. All right, then with the immersion blender, we'll bang that in. And when I turn this on, I'll wait until you'll start to see it starting to emulsify, and then I'll slowly pull up on my immersion blender, and that'll turn it into a nice thick mayonnaise for us. Okay, this doesn't take long at all. All right, once it's mixed up, give it a taste. All right, that's just how I want it for now. We'll get this out into a different container. We'll chop up some of our pickles, and then we'll add that, and we'll taste it again. As you can see, got the mayo transferred into a different container here, and I've also finally diced up my pickles and white radish that I had pickled over here. How much of these you put in there is completely up to you. You could also add some shallots. That also will go nice in here, but I'm just going quite minimal today with just the radish and the cucumber. So we'll give that a little mix in, give it a taste. And that is pretty damn good. Since it's a little chilly outside, I'm going to explain this here. With the fish, I'm going to be putting it into flour, giving it a light dusting, then into the batter, and then straight into the oil. I've got my oil sitting around 175 degrees. Okay, to build this sandwich, it's simplicity at its best. McDonald's actually has it right. Tartar sauce on the bottom, and then you got your crispy fish. Plonk that on there. Bit more sauce over the top. That on the top. That's all you need. Okay, now's the best time. We get to eat this thing. Also, you have to have a nice cold one when you eat this thing. It has to be like that. Alrighty, time for the cross section. Also, there's no need to toast this bun. I think it'd be better without toasting. Oh, that looks amazing. I don't eat this very often, but I think I might have to start. That is an amazing sandwich. And also, these chips, super crispy. All in all, I think it's a really good sandwich.